welcome to another extraordinarily boring video with me, Captain Boring. This video is a response to a question. Brittany, what happens if you discover that you're the toxic one? Now, I know Brittany personally. She recently booked a free coaching call with me that you can do from my website. And my website's sort of like a very good assistant. You know, like it's a really good way to connect with me. If you haven't booked that already, you can do that in the description. It's free. It's not a sales call in any way. Like, I am by far the world's worst salesman on the fucking planet. So, and I just want to help people. So you can in the description you can book that. But I don't want to get too much deep into her specific situation because, you know, it's obviously private and everything we discuss is private. But she asked the question, what do you realize if you're the toxic one? And that's a very, I'm going to turn the heater off. Oh god, the heater's broken. I forgot about that. Usually I just knock the heater over and because it has like a little thing, but the heater's on its last leg, so if I knock it over, it's still on. That's very dangerous. So that question's really good because what happens is, well, people will often we point outwards. You know, we'll say they're the toxic one or they're the narcissist. It's very fucking rare that someone actually wakes up and realizes that they are potentially the toxic one or they are potentially the narcissist. Now, the reason why I say potentially is because, like, it's ironic. It's ironic because the moment you discover, I say discover because you'll see why, discover. The moment you discover that you're the toxic one is the moment you start stepping out of it. It's like looking at the sun. The moment you look at the sun and it hurts your eyes, the moment you realize, fuck, shouldn't look at the goddamn sun, should I? That was a bad idea. You know, it's almost like common knowledge. Look up, ouch. Ooh, I'm blind, like, shouldn't do that. So, when it comes to realizing that you are the toxic one, what if you are the toxic one? What if you're the toxic one? What if you're the one tearing the relationship apart? You cannot have a fucking realization like that. You cannot realize that without immediately starting to be less toxic of a person. Now, if we're going to use the word toxic, what can we define that as? Because I feel like that term gets thrown around a lot and not necessarily very defined. I would describe toxicity or toxic people in a relationship, honestly, as someone who is taking more than they give. That's a really simple way of describing it. You know, you're damaging them if you're the toxic one, or they're damaging you if they're the toxic one, and they're actually taking more than they give. They're asking for more. They're not necessarily very perceptive, or maybe they're putting you in a situation, they're trying to condition you into feeling and believing certain things just because they're afraid. They're afraid of not having you around, if that makes sense. So toxic people exist. Let's just put it out there. Toxic people exist. We'd like to think that they don't exist, but they fucking exist. Why do they exist? God knows why. Like, they just do. You know, we can talk about why they exist till the cows come home. But if you can see, I don't live on a farm. There's no fucking cows. That's going to take some time. I actually grew up on a farm. We never had cows. Our neighbors did. I almost got run over by those cows. That's a story for another time. Long story short, I always talk about surrender on this channel. Surrender, surrender, surrender. It's literally like, if you know me personally, I always talk about surrender all the fucking time. Surrender, surrender, surrender. If you realize you're the toxic one, you in some way have already surrendered. To have that perception, to look at yourself and realize that maybe it's the me that's causing the problems. You've already had a breakthrough. You are already stepping on the path to no longer being the toxic one. Now, the irony is, I know this person who's asking the question. We just had a call this weekend. I know her, and I can say that, look, you probably did some things that aren't necessarily good to support a relationship, but in no way you are the toxic person. The reason why I say this is because we are used to calling ourselves things. We're used to saying that we're the problem or we are down. What happens is people blame us. Then, or they hurt us, or they push us down, or they oppress us when we ourselves are not strong enough for that. So what ends up happening is we develop mental and emotional habits. Now, when that person goes, and we've still got that habit in our heads, what do? We keep it up. We fucking keep it up, we keep it up, we keep it up. I've talked about this a lot on this channel. I felt worthless for a good majority of my life. In some situations, I still do. Was I born like that? No. Were you born like that? No. I don't believe anyone's born toxic. We might be born into toxic situations. Might be situations of circumstance. But if you want to be less toxic to other people, you got to be less toxic to yourself. And is calling yourself a toxic person helpful? Is calling yourself a toxic person helpful for yourself? Or is that a toxic behavior? The irony is yes and no. Because it's good if you do this, if you call yourself bad names and it helps you get out of a situation. But it's bad if you don't recognize what's actually going on. If you want to be less toxic to other people, be less toxic to yourself. Start with yourself. This is like, for example, I get like life coaches and stuff, they come to me. All right, they're like, how do I be a life coach? And I'm like, fuck, am I a life coach? Is that my job? It's like, I just want to teach people how to heal themselves, like, and help people have, good relationships and great sex. Like, that's fucking it. Like, that, I want people to be confident. I want people to know that they have the power to do it now. Am I a life coach? It's like, probably, right? But similarly, this is like a tangent, but a related tangent. Similarly, life coaches come to me, or people who are wanting to be life coaches, and they're always trying to help other people. But even helping other people can be a toxic behavior. Because they help other people so much, they're like a train that missed the stop. We have these patterns in our head. That's the similarity. We have these patterns in our head. Always go forward, 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 forward. We move so forward that we miss the fucking stop. So sometimes trying to help people can be toxic. Because we're not helping them, we're helping us. I just ate a large amount of cheese before this video, so I'm like, I'm just like cheese burping. But point of the story is there is advice, the same advice I give people who are starting to become a life coach. You're your first client. You're your first client. You got to help yourself first. If you're a toxic person, be less toxic to yourself. How else do you, like, people have hurt you your whole fucking life. So how else are you going to learn new behaviors? We're either lucky that we are put in a situation where someone gives us the space to be ourselves and the space to grow. And that's what, honestly, private coaching is about. That's one of the things that I have about this. When I used to exclusively be a dating coach, one of the things I did was I actually set up my coaching program around being a simulation of an amazing date or amazing relationship. And the people I would work with would be like, holy shit, like, I want my relationship to be like this, like where we know what's going on, where we see each other like once a week, like we know what's happening. And it's like we set the standard, you know what I mean? So this is what I'm asking for yourself. Set the standard with yourself. Would you date you? Would you love you? Or are we looking for other people to fucking give to us the stuff that we can't give ourselves? And here's the thing. You get to decide. There is nothing innately wrong with being a toxic person. And I say that like tongue-in-cheek, like, what does that phrase even mean? Tongue-in-cheek. Point of it is if you're growing from it, every negative situation has the potential to be the most loving possible growth. Everything. And when you learn how to surrender, when you learn how to deeply feel the bullshit that's happening underneath, let it pass, let it run without trying to modify it, without trying to change it. Something you can practice now. Something you can practice right this very second. You heal yourself, you let your emotions run. But here's the thing, right? When I first discovered this, I I had, and I still do have the occasional graphic design client. Because chances are, in addition to being an amazing person, I also draw amazing things. My website, I made it all myself. Graphic designer Sharam, mwah. But point of it is, growing up as a graphic designer, I was not ready. I was not trained in it. I just picked it up as I went along. And I lifted weights heavier than I could lift. It made me an amazing designer, but as a result, because I did not know how to let go of the emotion, I did not know how to heal, what did I do? I developed almost like a panicky-tacky nature towards it. Like I couldn't design for someone else without freaking out. So what did I do? Like I literally had so many panic attacks. Like after a while, it just became I couldn't do it anymore. So what did I do? I stopped. Now one day, I finally was able to accept it. I'd finally healed without even realizing. You know, time doesn't heal wounds, but it gives you time. That's the cheese talking. Hi, I'm losing my voice. I actually lost my voice for other reasons. Time doesn't heal all wounds. Time gives you the time to heal your own wounds. That's important here. So when I started designing again, what happened? I was literally freaking out. We always pick up where we left off. I find that a really funny rule, but it's really true. It's really true. You pick up where you left off. When you're finally ready for that something, you will pick it up where you left it off. Trauma and all. It almost seems very metaphysical as well. Like the situations I've seen, like people falling into almost relationships with like the first person that they even dated. It's like years later. It's like you pick up where you left off. Anyway, I'm trying to keep this video short because I'm about to have to cut it off soon. But I had to process that. I had to process that panic attack because every time I designed for someone else, I started freaking out. Eventually, I would let myself have the panic attack. I would be on the computer. Everything in me is freaking out and shutting down, and I would just surrender. Let's feel this feeling. Eventually, it slowed down and calmed down, and I realized I'm not a bad designer. They're bad clients. And we can point the fingers all day, but what I like to think, a healed person, a very surrendered person, understands the relationship between cause and effect. That maybe they just needed they needed a stronger person. They needed a stronger person working for them to tell them that, hey, you have some great ideas, but fuck off. And people need that. In fact, sometimes they want that. But sometimes what we do is we have this idea that we want to help people so much that we will cut off our arm in order to help them. But that's not what they fucking wanted. So we weren't able to see and perceive what was actually going on. So what if you're the toxic one? Summarize. First of all, you're immediately less the toxic one by thinking that you are by knowing that by that realization. 2, what if you're the toxic one? Well, can you be less toxic to yourself? 3, surrender all the time, non-stop from here on in. 4, in the description of this video, I've got a new free audio coaching session. I've decided every now and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to be releasing audio coaching sessions. That's it's like almost like a common session that I might work with people privately on, that people pay like, God, fucking, who knows, a bit of money for, and release it as a free or cheap thing to help people with. So I've got a free one. It's 3 Steps to Unbreakable Confidence. That's in the description. And I'm creating an online course with 6 audio coaching sessions called Unlock Your Desire. That's coming soon. That's all about feeling what you want, surrendering to that, letting it come up, knowing what that is, being okay with feeling those things, and also more importantly, is one of the modules, one of the coaching sessions is about unlocking, like becoming more comfortable with your darker side. Ooh, what does that mean? Very sexy. So hopefully you've enjoyed watching this video. If you do want to book that call, you can book it in the description. If you've had a good time, let me know. I know there's some, yeah. Anyway, bye.